Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 10 of ARBinBRIEF, a practical video guide on hand-picked arbitration issues. My name is Olga Sendetska and I have the pleasure of moderating today's discussion about the future arbitrator. Who is it and what do they do? We are joined today by Mahnaz Malik, barrister and arbitrator at 20 Essex, based in London, and Olena Perepelynska, partner at 𝗔𝗥𝗕𝗙𝗙. She's based in Kyiv. I would suggest that we jump right into it. Now, in arbitration, we often discuss the best practices and the established approaches to doing things. But today we thought we would talk about the future of arbitration and of arbitrators. Mahnaz, I'll start with you and let me maybe be a devil's advocate for a moment. Do arbitrators as a profession actually need to change? Aren't things fine just the way they are?
Well, I think it's really important to change with the view to improve. And, the system is not perfect and there's certainly room for improvement. I mean, I'll highlight a few of the issues we face. We have a limited pool of arbitrators, that there is a bit of a bottleneck around a certain vintage, which means that people are getting increasingly busy and efficiency and cost issues are rising. So that's one of the big sort of drivers to widen the pool of arbitrators. So it becomes more competitive, which is obviously better for parties if they can get more available, efficient, and I dare say cheaper arbitrators. I think that's also a big problem with the way the cost of arbitration is going. It's becoming incredibly unaffordable. The other driver is the widening of the parties that are coming to arbitration, and really the need for different perspectives, whether it's generational, whether it's cultural, whether it's just somebody different from a homogeneous group that can sometimes gather in all small niche professions, which is what we are. So I think it's really important to get different perspectives, and I just don't mean that as a diversity ticking sort of exercise. I just mean more people coming into the pool, so there's a wider choice and greater perspective into the arbitration process.
Okay, so we need more arbitrators and new arbitrators to come into the profession. We cannot afford to stand still in the status quo that we have. Olena, what do you think about the skills that these future arbitrators, this new pool of arbitrators, must absolutely have?
It's not already enough just to be a good lawyer and just to be competent in arbitration. Now we also need another skill, like technological competence. So during the COVID time, we all witnessed a huge technological shift in arbitration. And even the most conservative arbitrators had to manage or to master different online systems for conducting hearings, for online evidence presentation, for paperless proceedings, etc., etc. And now we all regularly use Zoom, Teams, different platforms for case management, for evidence management, for document management. We all have new challenges how to submit that all. We all should think how the arbitrators would read them from those platforms or emails or their devices. And of course, that all means that the new arbitrator should be really competent in new technologies. I could also add from my experience that those skills and technical solutions are extremely useful in other normal situations, like war. And unfortunately, in view of developments, geopolitical developments in the world, we could expect some other normal situations. So it is even more important to be prepared to that and to have that technological competence. Next, it's very important to be adaptable. I mean, to learn quickly, to learn new things, and to not be afraid of it. We all talked about artificial intelligence for years, and not many people really expected this rapid development of large language model like ChatGPT. And now it's already part of our life, and we cannot even understand to the full extent its impact on legal market and arbitration market, but it is already used by some counsel, probably by some arbitrators. So we will definitely see some submissions drafted by artificial intelligence or evidence analyzed by artificial intelligence, and even arbitrators will probably use to some extent this in their work as well. And so this is just an example, but the quickly changing environment situation in our life requires from the arbitrators to be really adaptable to all that and flexible to include all those developments into their professional life.
It sounds like those are good skills to have as an arbitrator. Now, you've covered off kind of the skills to future-proof the arbitrators in arbitration. Mahnaz, are there also added duties, do you think, in your opinion, for future generations of arbitrators?
I think the future generation of arbitrators is linked to the future parties and future party representatives. I mean, bear in mind that we are appointed by the parties. We are to deliver an award, and decide a dispute between parties. And it's really important to be responsive to what they are looking for, really. And I think it's a very important point. And I've been sort of thinking about it quite a lot, thinking, but I hope to be doing this in the next 20 years. And please don't hold me to it in case I haven't retired in 20 years. But really, I mean, if you look at the next 20 years, what is the world going to look like? What is arbitration going to look like? What will the representatives of the parties and the parties themselves demand of you as an adjudicator? And I think, the point about artificial intelligence and technology is well made. But I think in addition, is there more? Is there a duty to conduct yourself with certain, ethical standards that go beyond perhaps what the bar codes provide? Is there the need for parties to see you more, in the digitalized social media context? It's something I struggle with every day. I mean, is in a generation where everything is about, sort of knowing, what you buy, what service you buy, what you get. Can we really hide behind this in this tower, really, as arbitrators? How much should we be seen? How little should be seen? And things like, what about sort of corruption? What about environmental issues? What about political or conflict issues? I mean, I'm not saying that these are all necessary to be an arbitrator. I think my answer is really more of a question. Will we be asked to, take a position on these issues with when future generations come in? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, a lot of people will say, that's not really our job. But then bear in mind that we are appointed by the parties. So it's still very much a party's choice-driven process, as opposed to, sitting as a judge and being appointed. So I'm very keen to see how things span out in the future. It could be that we just continue as it is, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the current system. I think we are fine as far as, ethical and neutrality is concerned within our profession. For an unregulated profession, I think we tend to regulate ourselves rather well. But I am intrigued and interested to see what the next 10 or 20 years bring.
It's definitely interesting to see what the future will bring. Olena, do you have any thoughts about the duties that arbitrators have towards the parties? What needs to improve in the future going forward?
Yeah, sure. I think the first and the most important is that the arbitrators should meet the expectations of the parties and arbitration community in general. And that implies two things. First, in general, and then secondly, in a particular case. And if we're talking about this general duty, that means that they should ensure stability of the system, or at least not to damage the system. And this could be achieved actually in each particular case. and how the arbitrators perform in each particular case. And the duties in each particular case would include, of course, starting from integrity and ethics. I mean, in terms of conflict of interest, that should be absolute must. Then it should be the issue of availability. That is also a bottleneck of the system, because the arbitrators should really make themselves available to perform and to conduct the proceedings efficiently. That actually implies the date of the hearing, the timing for drafting the award, and for many, many other small and bigger steps in arbitration. And this also includes the speed of the proceedings. And the arbitrators might wish to expedite the proceedings to the extent possible without jeopardizing the quality of the proceedings and without compromising it. And that might include the use of technology we've just discussed. That might include some other techniques offered by some institutions, etc., etc. So there are many ways how to achieve that, and they should do that. They also should remember that their awards are not just a piece of paper in a particular case, or a piece of some digital document. This, with the growing transparency of the proceeding, with growing trend of publication of the awards, those awards might be also important in other cases. And those awards should be drafted in an unbiased way, and that should be of proper quality. And that, in general, would help to ensure stability of the system and meet the parties' expectations.
I think we have received a helpful guide from both of you on upskilling as an arbitrator. So we talked about the skills a little bit and the duties of the future arbitrator, but I wonder who that arbitrator is as a person. What kind of characteristics must they have in order to succeed in the future? Mahnaz, what do you think?
Well, I think, we'll start with aptitude, although a lot of people think that's a given, but I think you need to have the aptitude, you need to have the intelligence it sounds quite fundamental and basic, but I think it's very important, because you are, in a sense, resolving a dispute or deciding and adjudicating a dispute, which is going to be well argued on both sides. So I think you have to have the intelligence to see both sides and come to a decision that's correct, applying the law and looking at the facts. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I think, is the fact that you need to have experience. Now, being counsel, doing arbitrations, I think, is a fantastic training ground for arbitrators, because you understand the process from the user's perspective, but you also understand how disputes are put forward, how submissions are made. I think it's very, very important, I think, to have sort of understood the fundamentals from counsel's perspective if you're going to become an arbitrator. I think the third point is you've got to have the sensitivity and the open-mindedness. And the two things are slightly different. I think sensitivity is being really aware of the room and, just picking up non-verbal, in a way they say it's the spaces between the letters sometimes that really speak to you. And I think that sensitivity is really important, because you need to be alert as the arbitrator. And I think it's really important to pick that. And open-mindedness is, we all have our biases. We all come with baggage into the hearing room. I think recognizing it, so you can really give the parties an open and fair hearing, is absolutely critical. And finally, I would say, at least on my list, is stamina. I think, you've really got to keep up with the parties. Hearings are intense. And if you're, in a sense, not, you need to be involved and engaged in the room, and you need to know the dispute really, really well. I mean, bear in mind, you're not living it every day like the parties are over the process. I mean, a lot of people can keep up with the pleadings. Others like to sort of read intensely before that. But whatever your style is, the point is you need to be on top of the case. So you know it better than the parties, I would say, even, because remember, you need to decide the dispute. So it's really these factors, I think, that it's not an exhaustive list, but I hope it answers your question somewhat.
Yeah, it's definitely really helpful. And how about you, Olena? What do you think?
I think the future arbitrators would be diverse. And that is something Mahnaz mentioned in the beginning. The pool should not be just bigger, it should be more diverse. And that implies not only gender diversity, which is of course important, that it implies all other types of diversity, geographical, ethnical, cultural, generation, whatever type you could imagine, that should be there. And there are many studies not related to arbitration, actually, they are more like business related, which confirm that the quality of the decision is higher when the pool of decision makers is diverse enough, because this brings different perspectives into discussion, and this enriches the discussion and makes the quality of the end decision higher and better. And again, for the stability of the system, for future of the system, we need to have this diversity on play. So our future arbitrators should be coming from different countries and should be actually physically be in different countries. So not just some usual suspects like a famous arbitration center. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Mahnaz and Olena, for this insightful discussion. I think we took away a lot from it and a lot of thinking going forward. We also thank our partner organizations, ARB Pledge and the Lagos Chamber of Commerce International Arbitration Center for their support in making Season 3 possible. We also are truly grateful to the many organizations that support the marketing of our series. To see future ARBinBRIEF videos on handpicked arbitration issues, follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel.